Alright. Got a little how-to here. Willy's Way, VNAV descent in the HJet for anyone who may be struggling. We're lined up for the Harp 3 arrival, ILS 22 into LaGuardia, I believe this is. I should know these things, but that's how informed I am. Correct, LaGuardia. So we're about 2 minutes, 20 seconds away from top of descent. I'm going to get set up for the descent here. On our VSD, I'm showing 3,000 feet at Yeoman. And this is with no altitude constraints manually put into the GTC. This is all just the auto-populated in the VSD. What I'm going to do first is we got to tell the plane what altitude we want to descend to. So in our case, we're being told 3,000 as per this, which is correct as I cross-reference the charts. So, altitude selector, painstakingly scroll that down. If you're lucky like me, you got an unlockable scroll wheel, and you can just dial that back down to 3. Or if you got a keybind, you can use that as well. So there's 3,000. I see the VNAV arrow, magenta arrow, has just showed up. And now I'm at about a minute till top of descent. So 3,000 is in the box, confirmed. Next, I'm going to click VNAV. So as I understand, it shouldn't start the descent right now. It may, but as I understand, it shouldn't. So we're going to arm VNAV, and yeah, it started the descent. So that was a minute before top of descent, which is fine. It's going to figure itself out here. Get on the proper VNAV path. And again, you're going to want to be on your throttles for this because there is no auto throttle. Dial back the power a bit just as that nose comes down. So it did a little descent there as we were a minute out, but not much. I'm sitting at 36,700 and I was cruising at 37,000. So once I actually hit this top of descent point on the VSD here, that's when it'll really start coming down. So again, just monitoring. I got VNAV in green up top here, which means it's active. And to confirm again, 3,000 is in the box. So everything is set up here as it should be. And there's that TOD marker and the nose is coming down. So watch that power. As she will climb up quickly. It's a slippery bird. And again, just kind of monitoring the situation. Not a whole lot we need to do here, other than control the throttles. Outside, got Roofus there, keeping us company. Beautiful sunset here into New York area. Just a little note before hitting record, I, kind of as a test, had pressed this VNAV, and this is still with 37,000, which was my cruise altitude set for the altitude. I had pressed VNAV, and it had armed, and you can tell that because VNAV will show right where my mouse is here in white, signifying that it's armed, not active, like it is now, which it's green. And I scrolled the altitude down and it did not descend. This was probably 8 minutes out from top of descent, so I think that way works as well. If you arm VNAV beforehand, realistically speaking, you should be able to arm VNAV as soon as you're at your cruise altitude. There shouldn't be any problem there. But once you do get close to top of descent, you will want to make sure that altitude constraint for whatever approach you're flying, make sure that's plugged in. That way when it does hit the top of descent, it'll start coming down on the VNAV path. But in this case, it took that, whatever it was, a minute. I was a minute before top of descent. It did a little descent, and then it leveled out. And once we actually hit the top of descent on the VSD, then it started coming down. Nice little 22, 23 knot tailwind to push us along here. Currently grounding 430. Can't complain about that. And again, I am not flying incredibly realistic. I'm going to keep my speed basically as high as I can, or where I'm at, 260 roughly, until 10,000, and then bring it back down to 250 for the 10,000 foot speed limit. Reality is I'm not paying for fuel, so fly as fast as I want. Now on the navigation display here, I'm starting to see the banana. So that banana signifies where you will be at the altitude you have set. So I got 3,000 set. My sim has froze and it's back. Thank you. So again, this banana up here is where I will be hitting 3,000. So it's bouncing around a little bit, obviously with the wind and the plane adjusting pitch to meet the VNAV profile. But so far this is looking good. Watching my speed, very important. Sometimes the VNAV will do that. I don't know exactly why, but it recalculates the path, and then you kind of get a abrupt nose down pitch. But it'll grab itself, and then, as I've said for the third time now, just watch your speed. As I sit here during the descent, another good little thing to note is this light here. Light will go green when VNAV is active and orange or amber when it is armed. So if you see green, she is active, and if you see amber, it is armed. As I get closer here, I can bring this zoom in, get a better view of flight plan ahead of us. Again, here is my not flying realistically. I passed 8,000 feet quite a ways ago, so I'm just going to press B to get to local altimeter setting there. Can't stress it enough. This is my way of doing it. There will be others that do it different ways, but end of the day, VNAV descent is VNAV descent, and I'm just trying to quickly show y'all how I do it. So as per my approach and my landing, as I said, I got the ILS 22 input. As per the charts, we are descending correctly for 3,000 at Yeoman, but the glide slope intercept altitude is actually 1,900 feet. So I can put that in here right now if I really want to, which I will. I'm just going to dial it back to 1,900. But it will still hold that constraint for 3,000. So the plane right now is descending to be at Yeoman for 3,000, and then once I get to Yeoman at 3,000 feet, it'll recalculate that next part of the descent from 3,000 to 1,900 feet, and we will go down to 1,900 feet from there. But I can set that here as I have, just so I don't forget about it, because if you forget about it, you're just gonna overshoot your landing, and you won't be able to intercept the glide slope in this case, because I am flying an ILS approach. Beautiful evening flight here. Sun is set, getting that nice pink, orange, cotton candy sky color. That, in my opinion, can be a little bit overdone in the sim, but I like it. I got no major complaints other than that. As we approach 10,000 feet here, I'm going to start bringing my speed back so I am 250 or below. There's 250 right about there. Try to keep it as close to that as I can here. I apologize for me switching the camera back and forth if it's a bit erratic. I'm trying not to be too wild with it. For those who are curious, this is Sim Update 10 Beta. Currently this is with DirectX 12 enabled TAA. I am not using DLSS as the displays are quite blurry with both DirectX 12 and DLSS enabled, so can't have the best of both worlds currently. The speed limit. I see my winds are tweaking out, so is my airspeed. I'm not going to worry too much about that, but I will worry about overspeeding. Speed restriction there. Found a weird issue. It kicked me over to level. I'm going to go back to nav. Oh, I see it. Swapped out FMS. There we go. Little bug there. VNAV is enabled again. So if that happens, it's probably kicking you out of the FMS selection here on the active nav. So you just want to put that back to FMS and re-engage nav mode because it'll go to wings level. We're getting bumped around quite a bit here. Not sure what's going on with these winds, but we're going to make it work regardless. Beautiful lights from the city. I love that. I'm not going to manually input the ILS frequency. It should do that automatically, which I see it already has. 110.5 is the frequency for ILS 2.2 into LaGuardia. And when I do switch over to the VOR 1 mode, which will allow me to capture the glide slope and the localizer, we'll just want to cross-check and make sure that our course is 224, which again is what's published for this ILS. As I get closer here, I'm going to press B just to go local altimeter again, as it could have changed. And I can see the runway lights. Good indication here that you're doing something right. Got the white little diamond here, that's the glide slope indicator. So we're still descending, and it is above the center point here, which means we are currently below the glide slope. But we will capture that at 1900 because that is what's published. Other than that little hiccup there with it switching over to VOR 1, we're doing pretty well. So we're just about to hit Yeoman, and Yeoman is at 3,000, and we just hit Yeoman. So the VNAV is indeed working, and because I set 1900, it's going to continue down to 1900. We've met that constraint at Yeoman, so from there it's down to 1900. There we go. Got the beeps and the yellow flash. 1,000 to go. I'm going to bring my speed down, try to maintain 200-ish. That's the speed at which I'll want to introduce my first set of flaps. This airspeed seems a little erratic to me, but so does this wind, and I'm not quite sure if that's a Sim Update 10 beta thing or if it's just the plane itself. Got my DME here, 7.5 miles out. I'm gonna put flaps down here just to get myself somewhat set up for the approach. Again, can't stress it enough. I'm probably not doing this at the correct time, but it gets me down, which is what I'm worried about in the sim. Is I'm not going for super realistic here. If I wanted to be realistic, I would go fly a real plane. 170 knots. So here I'm going to switch over to VOR. We got localizer, and I'm going to click approach, which is going to capture the glide slope, which it has. I'm just above the glide slope, so the plane's going to pitch down quite a bit to capture that, which it's getting centered up there. And we're going to cross-check our course, switch our course for the approach again, 224, which is set. Set our heading bug. This is typically where you'd set your missed approach altitude. I'm not going to do that. About 4 miles out. Going to get my gear down. I also did not get landing speeds in. Forgive me for this. This is terrible. Performance, speed bugs, landing. Get from sim, all on. So approach 116 and 111. It's going to be a rough landing speed. We got a bit of wind here. Crazy winds bouncing all over the place, but I'll try to grease it for you. And I'm going to get my second stage of flaps in. Really start slowing this up. This is going to be a very bumpy approach, which it already has been. Going to keep my speed a little high since it's gusty, or at least the sim would lead me to believe it is. And this is going to fly me all the way down. I'm going to kick the autopilot off here at about 500 feet. Radio altimeter. And that's about 500 there. So autopilot is coming off. You can turn the yaw damper off as well. We are hand flying her in. Really just flying visual at this point. I'm not too worried about what the instruments are saying other than my speed. Just making sure I'm on the glide slope and lined up with the runway. As I can see, I got 3 red pappies, so I'm a little low. Adjust here. These winds are really something else, but I feel like it's just a beta problem. runway. There's the threshold. I'm going to slowly bring that power back. She's not as floaty after the update, so you don't really have to compensate for that as much. Little bounce, but I'll take that. Wasn't all that bad. And on the brakes and spoilers are out. Nice easy decel. And gentle on the brakes, trying to maintain center line the best that I can. And there's a weird scenery glitch there. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's VNAV. I'm going to park on the runway here because I can. And I hope this video helps some of you. If you have any questions, feel free to message me, ping me, whatever is easiest for you. And yeah, that's Willy's way. VNAV in the HJet.